Isn't it wild how quickly the year can move? I mean, one minute you're setting goals, feeling motivated, thinking about everything you want to accomplish, and the next you're halfway through the year wondering how you got here so fast. And depending on how the first half of the year went for you, you might be feeling really good right now. Like you've built momentum, you've made progress, you're starting to see results. Or you might be feeling a little off. Maybe things didn't go the way you planned. Maybe you started strong and fell off. Maybe you've been meaning to get back on track for a while now. And I want to say this: where you are right now is not the problem, it's just information. Because the second half of the year, it doesn't require you to be perfect up until this point. It just requires you to decide how you want to move forward from here. So, in this episode, I want to walk you through how to keep or rebuild your momentum for the second half of the year. And I want to do so in a way that feels structured, realistic, and actually sustainable. What I have learned both in my own life and working with clients is that the women who finish the year strong, they're not the ones who had a perfect first half. They're the ones who re engage, they reassess, they reset, they commit, they recommit. And all of that starts with honesty. So, the first step is to get honest about where you are without the judgment, I might add. So, before you can move forward, before we can move on to the second half of the year, you have to know where you stand right now. And this is the step that a lot of people skip or avoid altogether because it's uncomfortable. I used to only track my progress at the end of the year, but it cost me a lot of learning lessons and missed opportunities. So, if you feel behind, it's easier to ignore that feeling, right? If things didn't go as planned, it's easier to just push it off. But clarity is what's going to create the momentum you need to have a strong second half of the year. So, this step is pretty simple, but it's very powerful. So, look at the data for your goals, whatever those goals are, whether it's your bank accounts, your workout metrics, your completed language lessons, your daily step count, your savings. What does your current situation actually look like? Now, we're not talking about what you wished it looked like, okay? And we're not talking about what you planned for it to look like. What is true right now? And as you do this, I want you to just remove judgment. We're just gathering data. This is not about beating yourself up. This is about giving yourself the information you need to move forward. Because when you're clear, you can make better decisions on what to do next. From there, we move on to step 2, which is reconnect to your goals and refine them if needed. Once you know where you are, once you know where you stand, it's time to reconnect to where you're going. And here's something I've learned: your goals are allowed to evolve. Okay. So, what you wanted in January might not be what you need right now. Your life may have changed, your priorities may have shifted. So, instead of forcing yourself back into old goals, ask yourself, what actually matters to me for the rest of the year? Maybe it's saving a specific amount, or hitting a weight loss target, or paying down a certain credit card balance, or getting on a dating app, or just building more consistency with your budget. Or maybe it's less about the number and more about how you want to feel, more in control, more organized, more at peace. And I think once you have clarity on that, you can really move forward with intention. I want to go back to the notion that your goals are allowed to evolve. Being the structured, slightly rigid type A Virgo, I was very much the person who set goals at the start of the year and had to reach those goals. I didn't give myself permission to let my goals evolve as my life changed. And I feel like it did a lot of harm, right? It did more harm than good. So if you are similar to me, like it's okay if your goals change, it's okay if your goals evolve, it's okay if the goals you wanted the first half of the year are different from the goals you want the second half. It's okay. Just give yourself that permission to let your goals evolve. And before we move into the rest of the steps, I actually want to give you something you can actually do right after listening to this episode. So think of this as your mid year reset ritual, not something complicated that's going to take hours, okay? Just a simple, intentional way to reconnect with your goals. Because sometimes what you really need isn't more information, right? You just need a moment to pause, reflect, and reset. So, here is what I want you to do. I want you to set aside 30 to 45 minutes, put your phone on silent, turn off your notifications, grab a notebook or open a blank document on your computer, and walk yourself through these three parts. Part one, reflect. What actually happened? Start by looking at your first half of the year, honestly, without judgment, remember, and ask yourself, what went well? Where did I stay consistent? What progress did I make, even if it feels small? And then ask yourself, where did I fall off? What pattern showed up? Where did I feel the most disconnected from my vision? This is not about criticizing yourself. This is about understanding yourself, because when you clearly see your patterns, you can actually change them. The next part is to reframe. What did this season teach me? Now I want you to shift out of judgment and into perspective. Everything that happened in the first half of the year, there is something you can learn from it. Maybe you realized you need more structure, or you were relying too much on motivation, or your goals, tasks didn't really reflect your real life, or maybe you were saying yes too often, or maybe you realized what does not work for you. I think the goal here is to take what happened and turn it into something useful. And then finally, part three, reset. How do I want to move forward? Now, this is obviously the most important part because we can't change the past, right? But we can do things differently in the present to change the future. So this is the part where you decide, who do I want to be with my money, with my goals, with my life in the second half of the year? Not just what you want to do, but how you want to show up. Do you want to show up more consistently, more intentionally, more aware, more in control? And from there, choose 2 to 3 things that you are committing to. Not 10, not everything at once, just a few very clear commitments. Things like, I'm going to track my weight measurements daily, or I'm going to stick to my weekly goal check-ins, or I'm going to follow my budget, not ignore it. Just keep it simple, because simple is what you'll actually follow. And once you've done this, I want you to do one more thing. Decide when you're starting, not next week, not next month, now. Because if this isn't about waiting for the perfect moment, this is understanding that this is the moment. Okay, so I walked you through your mid-year reset ritual. Let's get back to the steps to keep the momentum going for a strong second half of the year. Step number 3, simplify your plan so that you actually follow through. I think when it comes to goals, especially annual goals, one of the biggest reasons people lose momentum is because their plan is way too complicated. There's too many goals, too many things they're focused on, too many things that change, too many things that require your focus all at once, and it just becomes very overwhelming. So instead of trying to fix everything, pick a few key priorities. What are the 2 to 3 things that would make the biggest impact on your life over the next couple of months? And then build your plan around those things. So that may look like having a system where you're tracking your spending consistently. That may look like investing in a personal trainer. That might look like joining career networks in your area. Whatever it looks like, just keep it simple, because again, simple plans are much easier to follow, and plans you follow are what creates results. Okay, step 4, build weekly routines that support your goals. I think this is the part where everything starts to come together because goals obviously don't create results on their own, right? What do they say? A goal without a plan is just a wish. Your routines are what creates the results. So, again, instead of relying on motivation, build structure. Ask yourself, what do I need to do each week to stay connected to my goals, to stay connected to the things I need to do to reach my goals? For most people, that includes a weekly check in, reviewing progress, looking ahead at upcoming tasks or actions, and adjusting where needed. The biggest thing here is consistency. It's not about perfection, it's not about doing everything right. You just need to stay engaged as you work towards your goals. And having this weekly kind of support check in really keeps you on track. It keeps you aligned and keeps you connected. And finally, step 5, decide in advance what happens when you slip up. Let's be real with ourselves here. And yes, I'm reminding myself of this too. You will have weeks where things just don't go perfectly. Things don't go according to plan. You overspend, you break your diet, you miss a check in. You'll have moments where you feel off track. And I think that's normal, right? Acting like those things won't happen is what gets us into trouble. But in spite of all those things happening, the difference between women who finish the year off strong and women who feel stuck in cycles is not the one that, never messes up, right? It's not the group of women who don't mess up. It's the group of women who don't spiral when they mess up. So decide right here and now. If I miss a week, if I overspend, if I eat something I shouldn't, if I fall off for a few days, what will my response be? And remember, keep it simple. Okay. So something like my response is to get back into my routine immediately. Like plain and simple. If I fall off, I'm getting back on track. No guilt, no shame, no waiting for a fresh start, no waiting for a new month, no waiting for a perfect moment in time, just diving right back in. Okay. Consistency isn't about never slipping up. It is about how quickly you come back from the slip up. We're human, we make mistakes, things happen. How can you get yourself back on track? So let's be clear here. The second half of the year is not about catching up, right? It's not about making up for the first half of the year that didn't go as planned. It's about moving forward with intention. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to get clear, reconnect, simplify wherever possible, and stay consistent. And when you do that, your momentum will build naturally. So, where you are right now is just your starting point for the second half of the year. It doesn't define you, it doesn't limit you, it doesn't decide how the rest of your year goes. You do. You decide. So, take a breath, get clear, and start moving forward one decision, one step at a time.